Hey everybody, it's Travis with TechRaptor back at Gen Con 2016. I am with Luke of USAopoly, and we are going to take a look at Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, the cooperative deck building game. So Luke, what can you tell us about Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle?
So Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle is a cooperative deck building game. It focuses on teammates at the table all working together to actually try to destroy and get rid of a bunch of villains at the table. So it's a little bit unique than a standard deck builder. However, at its foundation, at its core, it really is just a standard deck building game. But we've just added a bunch of really cool, fun, unique things to bring in that Harry Potter theme. So.
Awesome. So does this take place during the timeline of the books, or is this set before or after?
This is actually completely and totally around the films. So it's going to cover all of the visuals and events from the first film all the way through the 8th. And I'll show you a little bit about how that happens and what happens to make that happen.
Awesome. Let's take a look.
Okay, sure. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to open up the box, and the experience kind of here is to make fans feel like they're jumping on the Hogwarts Express, coming to Hogwarts, and now they're going to be, attending their school of wizardry. So the box is made to look like luggage, as though you're going to bring that with you, and when you open it up, it's going to have that same look and feel. So it's going to look like you're looking into your suitcase, and all the parts and pieces are in there from the icons from Harry Potter. And really what that is that's doubling as your playboard. So the playboard is going to allow players to kind of keep track of what the cards are, what they're doing, what needs to be attached and or unattached, when it needs to go on and when it needs to come off of the board. So does that. Now, when you open up the game, you're going to kind of notice that there are a variety of different games. That doesn't mean that there are 7 independent games. It really means that there's one core game that has included in the game an additional 6 expansions that are already going in there. So imagine a deck builder with 6 expansions that you don't have to buy that already come in the game.
Neat.
The first one that's going to be there is really just a tutorial. It's really to get fans who are unfamiliar with deck building games caught up and able to learn very quickly. There's almost a 0% chance that they're going to lose the game. So again, it's kind of like a video game like Candy Crush, where the first level on Candy Crush is really just trying to teach the individual the mechanics of it and how to use it. Then you're going to subsequently add several of those additional games into it to make the complexity a little bit more difficult and a little bit harder. All right, so with the first game, you're going to get your basic starting heroes. So you're going to get Neville. You're going to get, of course, Harry. You're going to get Hermione. And you're going to get Ron. Now, each of those characters is, as you can tell, they're very young. Mm-hmm. They're from the first film. It's as if they've just come to their first day of school at Hogwarts Castle. So with them, they also get a starting deck, and that starting deck is going to be fairly unique to them by means of spells, allies, and items. The items and the items and the allies are going to be unique to each character, whereas the spells are going to be kind of similar from one character to the next. With that, though, you're also going to be getting, in that first game, a set of villains, and these villains are going to be trying to control each of these locations. So those locations are going to have a metallic game piece that goes on top for every time the villains can control a bit more of that location. Once they've controlled that whole location, that location comes off the board and they move on to the next location. When all the locations have been taken over, the villains win, the heroes lose.
Okay.
And they do that by means of their dark arts, right? Their dark art magic. So there is a dark arts deck, and that dark arts deck is turned over at the start of each turn, allowing some sort of game mechanic, some sort of modifier to the table to happen. So in this case, he who must not be named is going to go ahead and add an additional token to that location. And there are other things that might affect the players as a whole and or individual players, whoever that active player is going to be. So each player then also gets a health monitor which also kind of gauges how healthy they are in this battle, because as we're attacking those villains don't like it very much, and they're kind of attacking back. So we do that by means of these attack tokens. Each player is trying to assign as much damage to each of those characters as they possibly can until their number has been acquired. So 5, for example, for Crab and Goyle. In between that, as it is a deck building game, we want to make sure that fans are still increasing the value of their deck and building it further, thus a deck building game. And they do that by acquiring these influence tokens. Influence means that they are going to take a Hogwarts deck, that full deck of cards that has more allies, more spells, and more items, and making sure that they are increasing their deck size. They use these influence to influence those items, and once they do so, they cash all that out, draw up to 5 more cards, and start that process all over again. The rounds happen until either the villains win or the heroes win on the other side. And that's pretty much it. And as you continue down the 7 games, the harder the games become, and the more different components and parts and pieces to the game are also introduced to the game to allow fans to really experience further aspects of the Harry Potter world.
So do players' decks remain persistent game to game?
So you're never really owning all of the cards at the end of each game. So you'll have that starting deck from the start of each new game that you add new content to. So if you have game 1 and you start to you win that game and you're going to go on to game 2, you're going to go back to that starting deck that you had and insert the content for the new one after that. Where the added game mechanic or abilities are introduced is into the characters themselves. So as the game progresses, so do the characters. So just think about them learning more and more about their skills. So they're going to get a little bit older, they're going to get a little bit wiser, and their abilities are going to become more strong. So these initial cards don't have any abilities on them, but the further they go down this mix, they're going to have more of those abilities. The cards are going to get more weathered, and the villains are going to get more difficult to attack. And you're going to see that also on the cards where there's burned edges, and the visuals of that really feel like the last film as opposed to the very first film where everything feels very clean and new and fresh. So
okay. So it's going to move from whimsical to more desperate.
Exactly. Because as the name of the game implies, it is a battle for Hogwarts, and all of these locations will build up to that final battle of Voldemort and all of his dark wizards versus Harry and all of his good wizards as they battle for that last final location, which is Hogwarts Castle.
So is there an ultimate fail state if players fail on game 5? Are they going to have to go all the way back to game 1, or can they pick right back up?
Retry 5 again. And at any given time, you can sort these out. There's a sorting card in here, which uses the icon of that very recognized sorting hat. That sorting card will allow you to sort your cards back out after you're done. So if you want to try doing game 1 all over again, you feel free to do that. If you want to pick back up on 5, you can do that as well. And some fans may not want to do that progressive action to get to a more difficult game. And in the rules, we've given them ways to jump ahead to a couple of those other games. The other thing is, in the rules, they're much more simple. They're not as difficult to understand. We've made them have a lot of iconography so that individuals could just look at pictures and kind of figure things out, as opposed to have to read a really arduous novel-style rule book. Mm-hmm. And then subsequent games, you'll get another rule book, and that rule book will include all of the new things that you need to know of that next set. So it really helps fans to kind of progressively get to there. So if you jump to this, there are some steps that they'll just have you open up the additional rules and add them into the game.
So they can just learn as they go.
Exactly.
So this looks like it's cooperative for up to 4 players. Does it play?
It plays 2 to 4.
Okay.
So you do need 2 players in order to make the game work, but you can also play with 3 and or 4 as well.
So this game has been the talk of Gen Con 2016 so far. Where can people get it?
So right now, it is only available here at Gen Con. Unfortunately, we were only able to get a limited number of them shipped in. So we only have 50 a day that we're giving out, and they go fairly quickly. Today, I think we sold out in about 10 minutes. but it's not far off shelves in retail outlets. We'll have it at some point between the mid and end of September, so just next couple of weeks, or next 4 weeks or so, it should be on shelves, and you'll be able to find it at most hobby and specialty retailers. Places like Barnes & Noble and your local hobby shop would definitely be able to have it, as well as you'll be able to find it online at places like WarnerBrothersShop.com and or Amazon and whatnot.
And for people who want to go online and find a little bit more about it, do you have a website?
Yeah, you can go to usaopoly.com. You'll find the link for either Harry Potter. You can go to the Harry Potter link, or you can go to deck building, and it'll get you right to either one of those. It'll get you to where you need to go for more information.
Excellent. Thanks for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Stay tuned for more Gen Con 2016.